Hello, students, and welcome to our seventh lecture from our first semester play Julius Caesar. So, in this part, I will go very briefly through Act 4, Scene 3, the last scene in Act 4, and then I will, after that, go through the last act in our play, which is Act 5. And let's start here with Act 4, Scene 3. So we have here, we have a Brutus and we have Cassius, and we have a couple of accusations between both sides. So Brutus is accusing Cassius of taking bribes, and Cassius went very well angry because Brutus accuses him. And Brutus said, "You are having an itching palm," which is you're taking money and you're taking bribes that for the things that they are not supposed to be. And so Cassius was very angry because uh, Brutus accused him of taking bribes, and Brutus remains very calm and unmoved. And he said, "There is no terror, Cassius, in your threats, for I am as a strong so strong in honesty that they pass by me as an idle wind, which I respect not." So, both of them, they are having these accusations, and both of them reach to the point that um, Cassius offers his heart for Brutus to stab him, and which is, kind of like it is kind of like an action that brings reconciliation between the two sides. So, uh, so how did this quarrel end between the two sides? It ends through a poet. Okay, so one of the poets who chides them for arguing, and then after that leaves. So, uh, Brutus after that tells Cassius that I am sick of many griefs, and he told him that Portia has taken her life by swallowing fire, which means she killed herself. And you know, he was feeling very sad, but at the same time, he didn't truly want to show that to others. So what he did, he's kind of like uh, all of his sadness. He's pushing all of his sadness or all of his grief towards his friend Cassius. And we have here also So we have also introduction to two minor characters in our play, Titanus and Masala. So both of these two servants, or per se, soldiers, let's say, enter with the news that Antony and Octavia's army are moving towards Philippi, and they have had hundreds of senators executed, which means they're coming to take revenge upon Caesar's death. So, even Cicero, if you do remember Cicero, he was also executed. So Masala asks whether Brutus has received information about Portia, and Brutus says, denies that he's having anything related to Portia, or he denies that she's dead. So why did he say? Why did he act like that, student? We have here Brutus' Stoic reaction. So we have Stoicism. So what is a Stoicism, student? Uh, this kind of like it is one of the schools of philosophy, and it means like taking all the emotion and all the reactions from the human being and accepts the things as they are, and it is called Stoicism, which means if Portia is dead, then okay, I'll have to accept her death. There is no need to feel any grave about her. So that what it means by Stoic or Stoicism. So if you want to read about it, then we can also chat about Stoicism later. So uh, at this also point, we have a Brutus as Cassius, what he thinks of marching to Philippi to meet or to engage with the enemy, and Cassius thinks that their armies should stay and let Antony and Octavius' forces wear themselves out in facing them, which means let's wait Antony and Octavius' army to face us, and then after that we will face them. So we have, after this discussion, it was very late at night, and Cassius leaves Brutus' tent, and Brutus asks his servant Lucius to bring him his gown, and at the same time, he asks another two, let's say, minor characters to come to his tent and sleep with him. And then we have Lucius started to sing, and after that, he falls asleep. So Brutus is, while he's sleeping, he had a dream and he saw the ghost of Caesar. It was visited by the ghost of Caesar, and he tells him, Brutus, I will see you at Philippi. So, student, what is the benefit of having a ghost in a play? What Shakespeare wanted to tell us about Caesar's ghost? So keep this a question in mind, because a lot of Shakespearean plays, uh, the use of ghost in a play sometimes can foreshadows death, or sometimes can refer to conscience. So Brutus, his conscience is still blaming him for killing Caesar, and probably uh, that's why he saw Caesar's ghost. So as soon as the ghost disappears, Brutus awakens the other to ask them whether they saw the ghost, and everyone said no, we were asleep and we didn't see anything. So this scene ends with Brutus commanding his two servants, Varius and Claudio, to tell Cassius to mobilize his troop early in the morning, and that Brutus will follow. So there now we are having a war. We are having, let's say, a civil war between Cassius and Brutus on one hand, and we have Octavius and Antony on the other hand. So we are done with Act 4 and we reach to Act 5. So we have here Octavius and Antony, and their armies are the first one to enter Philippi. So who reached first to the war, let's say, area? We have Octavius and Antony, and they knew that the enemy is descending from the halls and upper regions. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so let's continue talking about the war scene, and we have Antony who talked to Octavius and tell him, let's our army be on the left side, while Octavius himself disagrees, and he said, let's take the army to the right side. And then we will come to this discussion later, which is how Octavius looked to things and how Antony looked to the things properly. And then we do have Brutus, Cassius, and their forces. So the two armies, there were a couple of like insults between them. So Antony and Octavius' army refers to assassin of Caesar's as villains. Talked to them and said, "You're villains. You showed your teeth like apes and found like hounds." And this is kind of like an insult between the two armies. And then Cassius replies to them and said, "A peevish schoolboy, a worthless of such honor." So this is kind of like accusations, or kind of like, let's say, insults between the two armies. And we have here after that Antony and Octavius withdraw themselves, and Brutus speaks with his servant Lucius, and Cassius tells Masala. So we have another character as well. His name is Masala, and Cassius told Masala that it is his birthday. So it is Cassius' birthday, and though it's his birthday, but there is kind of like some bad omens that he saw on his way to Philippi. He saw two great eagles, and in the morning, and then later on these eagles are gone. So he saw ravens, crows, and kitties, and a lot of things. All of these things can refer to a bad omen. So uh, he and Brutus speak of what might chance of this fatal day and bid each other farewell. So Cassius and Brutus talked to each other, and he said, "We might probably not gonna see each other because it's after all it's a war, and we might not see each other. So let's say farewell, because perhaps we will never meet again." So this scene ends with Brutus' stoical words, "Oh, that a man might know the end of this day's business ere it come, but it's selfish that the day will end, and then the end is known," which means he almost predicted that the end of uh, this whole battle is that he's gonna die. So this is scene one, and let's come to uh, scene 2, Act 5, Scene 2, which is a very short scene. So here we have Brutus sends Masala to give the battle plans to the other side of Octavius' part. So he he saw that uh, there is kind of like a weakness in Octavius' army, and he wanted to take a chance to go and push his army towards it, because he said that, "I perceive but cold demeanor in Octavius' wing," which means there is something very weak in Octavius' army, and I want to take advantage of that and push my army to the battle itself. So we have here scene 3. Let's just start with scene 3. So in this scene we have Cassius who talked with Titanus, and Titanus observed that Brutus gave the order to attack Octavius. And we have another character whose name is Pandarus. He enters, and he gave a warning that Cassius tried to pull your army further back because Mark Antony has already taken your camp. Mark Antony has already taken Cassius' camp. So Cassius didn't truly want to withdraw or didn't want to pull his army further back. So what he did, he sent Titanus to see whether the troops in front of them in distance are friends or enemy, which means whether the troops in front of them are Brutus and the other and Lucius, or whether they are Antony and Octavius. And he, on the other hand, sent Pandarus to ride higher on the hill to see who's gonna welcome Titanus. So he saw that Titanus was surrounded by a shout of joy, but he mistaken this, and Cassius makes a huge mistake because he believed that Titanus has been already taken by the enemy, and then rather than being received by his friend. So Cassius thinks that he lost this war and thinking that everything is lost. So he said that, "Pandarus, you are a free man, and I want you to understand that whatever I ask from you, you need to perform it." So he asked him to, Cassius asked Pandarus to kill him, and with his sword. And Cassius said, "Caesar, thou art revenged even with the sword that killed thee," which means Caesar was revenged now, because with the same sword I killed him, now I'm being killed with the same sword. So he killed himself. So after that, we have Titanos and Masala who came to the Cassius camp, and they saw that there is nothing but the body of Cassius. So he said that the sun of Rome is set, our day is gone, and clouds, dews, and dangers come, our deeds are done. So Tetanus tell Masala to leave, and he will after that go and see Pandarus once he is alone. So Tetanus, he was very shocked with Cassius' dead body, and he couldn't accept that, which is watching Cassius as a dead body. So what he did, he followed him and he committed a suicide with the same sword. So we have two people who died here in this scene. We have Tetanus and we have Cassius, and Cassius was killed by Pandarus, and Tetanus killed himself with the same, both of them with the same sword. Okay, then we have Brutus who came, and he was accompanied by his friends, servants, and all of them enters, and he saw Cassius' dead body, and he exclaims and said, "O Julius Caesar, thou art mighty yet. Thy spirit walks abroad and turns our swords in our own proper entrails." So what happened here in this scene is that Brutus orders Cassius' dead body to be sent to the nearby island, and to prevent his funeral from lowering more on the battlefield. So what he did is that he wanted to preserve the dead body because this whole funeral thing might probably turn against them. For this reason, he's kind of like postponing this thing. And he said, "It's 3 o'clock, and Brutus will take the field to try fortune in a second fight." So another thing, we have a 3 o'clock here, mentioning of a 3 o'clock, which is the same time that was mentioned before when the conspirators met at midnight. And now we have scene 4. So the battle continues in this part as well, and we have a lot of let's say soldiers, and let's say some conspirators. Some of them were slain and others were captured, and one of those people who was captured is Lucius, and yes, and then he identifies himself as Brutus. He identified himself as a Brutus, and believing that he will save a Brutus, or believing that if he identified himself as a Brutus, then he will get an honorable death. So Antony enters, and he saw that he's not a Brutus. He said that this one is a prisoner, and he said that a prize no less in worth, and he commands other people to keep him very safe and to be treated kindly. So a student, during this whole battle thing, keep in mind how Antony is acting during the battle. What do you think of him as a leader? Do you think that he was well experienced than Octavius himself? And do you think that Octavius himself kind of like his decisions or his orders are similar somehow to Caesar? So try to make this comparison between the two, and keep in mind the differences between the two characters, or let's say the similarities between them. We have here the last act in our play, the last scene in our play, which is scene 5. So in this part, we have, as we have witnessed in scene 4, Cassius was killed. Now in scene 5, we have a Brutus, and Brutus know that everything is lost, and he talked with the ones who are surrounding them, the people, or let's say the soldiers or the conspirators as well, that they are surrounding him to kill him, but they all of them refused to kill Brutus. So there is an alarm that sounds that Octavius and Antony are coming, so everyone flee, run away, except Strato. So Strato was the one who stayed with Brutus, and Brutus asked him to hold his sword for them, and so that he can run upon it and kill himself. So, Brutus' last words were, Caesar now will be stole, I like not thee with half so good as well. So Brutus killed himself with this sword. He ran into it, and Strato explains the death, or let's say the manner of Brutus' death. So we have Octavius, we have Antony, we have the captives, people were taken as captives, such as Masala and others. They saw, or let's say discover, Brutus' dead body, and Antony said that Brutus was the noblest Roman of them all. And Octavius promises that Brutus himself will get a very proper funeral. And he says, tonight Brutus' body will repose in Octavius' own tent. Then, okay, student? So this is the, let's say, a very important part of our play, which is the end of Brutus' life. So Octavius has the last word, and he said, so call the field to rest, and let's away to part to the glories of this happy day. So according to Octavius, he wanted to celebrate this victory of killing Brutus, or this victory of winning actually the war, not for killing Brutus, because Brutus killed himself. So the most important thing in these acts, student, is the ghost of Caesar, and why Shakespeare himself try to include this in such scenes. And then we have also the Stoic part, or let's say the Stoicism, and to what extent you think that Brutus loved his wife Portia, and why he didn't actually show that to others. So keep these questions in mind, student. And also, why do you think that Brutus and Cassius, why didn't they kill themselves instead of just asking others to kill them? So it's, after all, it's death. So how come they ask others to help them to kill themselves? So keep all of these questions in mind, and we are done with our first semester play regarding the acts part. But we still have a lot to talk about, especially the themes, the language, and the other devices being used in this play. So thank you for listening, student.